And people will comment and whatever, that's fine. All right, we're live, huh? Okay, cool. So, all right, everyone. Really excited. We got the new Ronin 2 finally came in. We got a big batch in, and we've sold a bunch. I think I have like 1 or 2 available, and then we'll have another shipment coming in shortly. So go ahead, log on our website and place your order if you're looking for it. If you're on the fence and you're curious about what's in the box, what do you get for your $7,000? This is why you're watching this video. We're going to open it up and I'm going to talk about all the different pieces, and you're pretty much going to see that you get a lot for your money. Of course, beautiful case, road case. It is very big. It's about 66 pounds, I think. I'll put it on the scale later and put it in the comments. But it's big, but that's because the Ronin 2 is much bigger. It's capable of a lot more. I've put an Alexa XT with the Master Prime in here, on here, and it works great. Anyways, you've seen a lot of my other videos, so let's get into what's in the box here. So let me open it up. I'm gonna come over on this side. And so as you can see here, we got beautiful laser cut foam. This is a tray that pulls out, but I'm going to go into the individual things here. I'm going to start with the cable pouch. So it's really cool little pouch here, and it's got 2 halves to it, and it comes with a number of cables. And anyone who's ever had to buy Limo cables know that Limo cables are extremely expensive, and you get a lot of them. But the nice thing about Limo cables is that they're very obviously professional, and they lock in a specific position, and it's a very secure connection, and they don't break off like those little HDMI connectors that you get on some other equipment. So basically what you have here is you have, I think, an Alexa power cable. You have, I think, a red power cable. This little guy right here is very important. This is a jumper, sort of a dongle. So this goes from the Ronin 2 right here to an S-Bus connector, which is how you connect the alpha wheels, for example, or any other external control device, like maybe a thumb controller or Veracity wheels or the Clausen wheels. So this is the cable you're going to need. Luckily they include it because this is a proprietary DJI standard. This is a more universal. So this way you can plug in anything that goes through the S-Bus port right there. So that comes with it. This is just a USB cable here for charging and connectivity. If you look right here, very cool of them. They got a number of 3/8/16, quarter 20s, M4s. This is for the top dovetail that ties into the camera, and another bag of them in different lengths, and another bag of quarter 20s there. So lots of hardware. If you've ever bought those from B&H, you know that sometimes they can be $10 or $20 per screw. So there's a lot of value there. So this is a CAN bus power cable. So this is so that you can power things that take this kind of 5.5 millimeter connector. They're all written describing what they are. So here you go, ARRI start stop cable. So this is so you can start and stop an ARRI. So they're all labeled. This is just a protective sleeve right there. 2-pin power, 2-pin Limo power. So you obviously there's a lot of things on set that use that ARRI 2-pin power. And what else we got here? Red RCP control cable, so on and so forth. Since we're here, red power cable, like I said, and I think this is the ARRI. Here we go, ARRI. So you got your 2 camera power cables, accessory power, and since it's a Limo standard, of course, no matter what you have, whoever does cables for you will be able to make a cable for your Ronin. So here we got more stuff on the other half. We got some Allen keys. This is the the battery block here, I might as well pull this out right now. So on the Ronin 2, as opposed to like the Movi Pro or some other gimbals, the place where you slide the batteries into the gimbal is removable. So if you hit release, it ejects off of the Ronin. So that means you can remotely power your Ronin 2. So this is obviously the extension cable. So you plug this in right there. And then, for example, if you're on a small jib and you need to take weight off the end of the jib, you can put the heavy batteries off of the head and down by the base or something. So this is the power cable. When you're operating on Steadicam 360 mode that I've showed off in other videos, you need to use this cable to remotely mount the battery pack. So this is a very important cable that it comes with. You got a little neck strap right here for the controller, remote controller. There is a multi P-tap power distribution dongle right here, and some HDSDI video cables. So, I mean, just this little case, it's a really nice pouch, and you can continue to put all your other cables in here also, and this is really nice. I mean, the first impression is what a great job they did, what a great presentation, how much care they took in designing the actual packaging it comes with, and a really great job by them, much better than the original. Of course, you get instructions, quick start guide. You get one of these handlebar clamps, tube clamps. It's a 30mm tube, and so you get 1/4, 20, 3/8, and that little airy style pattern for some accessories. So you get an accessory clamp right there. You also get a set of rods for camera rods, iris rods. That goes in right there. Here is the camera dovetail. Now the nice thing about it is it's a little bit longer than previous models. They finally saw the light and they used long slots like we use on our CinemIlled dovetails. All that said, of course, CinemIlled will be making our Pro Dovetail for the Ronin 2 also. It's going to be slightly longer because, of course, the Ronin 2 having expanding arms can accommodate such large cameras that in some situations the body of the camera is here and the base is here, or the reverse, like with the film camera. It's like an Arri 235. You got the mag on the back and it pushes the body all the way forward, and you'll need a longer plate. So our plate will be longer. We'll have our whole counterweight system that you'll be able to use with it, so you can put really big lenses and front heavy kind of stuff on there. But for a factory dovetail, this one's really nice. It's a little bit longer than they used to make them, so that's good. It'll make it more usable. Going on to, let's see here, the top dovetail. Pull that out. It's nice and tight. There we go. So this is the dovetail that would go on the top of the camera. So there's one on the bottom, which is the one we just saw, and this is the one that would go on the top. So as most people know, there's like a camera cage on most gimbals, and especially with the Ronin 2, I would say it's absolutely a requirement for you to always have the top dovetail securely attached so that you can dial up your stiffness and make the gimbal really perform. So this is a little captured slider right here. This bolts to the top of your Alexa or your Red camera or whatever, and then this the top cross brace tightens into here. We'll show it to you assembled in a little bit. CinemIlled will be making our version of the top dovetail also. It'll have a few extra cool features that'll make it pretty useful for people that need it. The thing about the Ronin 2 is that you'll be able to use it with such a wide variety of cameras that in some cases this may not work so great, and so that's why we're here. We'll come up with solutions. The other thing, let's get into. So it does come with a quote-unquote universal mounting plate, of which CinemIlled is very famous for making. That was our first product 4 years ago. So it's very nice. There's a release button right there. It's a dovetail. It doesn't match any dovetail standard out in the movie industry, but it is a very secure way of mounting your gimbal. I'm really happy they went with this system instead of like a toad in the hole style or some other sort of style. I mean, we've been using dovetails for decades, 50 years in the movie industry, and they exist for a reason. They're really strong. And but what I would have to say is, I am, of course, CinemIlled is designing a universal mount. And the thing is, unfortunately, this one's not very useful. I'm not just trying to sell mine. I'm just, you're going to grab me. It'll come with your Ronin and you can play with it. I don't know where they got this hole spacing, but it's completely non-standard. Doesn't match up with cheese plate. They have a measurement here, 40 millimeters. It doesn't match up with cheese plate. You may be able to use it on your Steadicam, of course, anything that has slots, but if you're mounting it to grip things, it doesn't really work. It doesn't have a hole in the center, so it complicates things. So, of course, the CinemIlled version, which will be out soon, will be compatible with Mitchell. It'll be even compatible with the old Ronin mount, the Ronin 1 mount. So if you, for example, have a cable cam or our Pro Ring, for example, and you have our older Ronin 1 mount, our version of the Ronin 2 universal mount will slide into that mount. So you'll be able to use a Ronin one day, you can use a Movi the next day, and you don't have to swap mounts. So our mount will truly be universal. It'll be compatible with a lot of other standards. We'll have industry standard hole spacing here, so it matches up to like cheese plate and that sort of thing. It'll be compatible, of course, with our Mitchell mounts and all that stuff. That said, it does come with one. It's slightly a little bit off, but it can be still immediately useful to you. But you're probably going to want the CinemIlled version of that. All right, next up, let's go into power here real quick. This is the battery charger. It looks like a Star Wars thermal detonator. Really cool design piece. But basically, you press the button, these little winglets come out. Actually, looks like a bomblet from a cluster bomb. So the batteries slide in here. There's 4 positions, as you can see. The lights will blink. Now, it only charges 2 batteries at a time. Now you say, why would it do that? Because then it could charge 2 batteries, the 2 batteries faster for you. Once it reaches a certain level, it starts charging the other 2. So it's not that, oh, there's 4 points, it should charge all 4. Is that you want the batteries to charge as fast as possible. And so it's actually a pretty smart design. The batteries themselves are the same exact batteries from an Inspire 2. So if you have an Inspire 2, you can use those batteries on there. If you don't, you'll be able to use them on an Inspire. They're really high quality batteries. They're smart batteries. They have an internal heating circuit so that it'll work with in very cold temperatures. They don't lose power. Anyway, so this is the battery charger. It comes right there. It's a really nice piece. And then let's go back to the battery block. So the battery block will be able to eject from the Ronin itself. There's a separate power button for just the battery block. Here's the ejection buttons for the batteries that slide right in here. And so what you'll see here is P-taps right there. And you get a power out. So using that extension cable, you can go out of here and up to wherever your Ronin might be. And then there's a couple of mounting points here. CinemIlled will have a few interesting products relating to this power block, so stay tuned to our social media, and as soon as we finish them, they will be up there, and I guarantee you it's going to be very useful and necessary. Sorry to make a little bit of a secret of that, but we're almost done with it, and it'll be released soon. So that's the power block. Moving on here. One of the interesting things that they included this time that they didn't include before is a base plate, a camera base plate, essentially, like almost like a airy, what do you call that? I forget the nomenclature for the airy one. But in any case, it's just like you know, it has a rod. You can slide your rods into here and lock them down. And the idea would be, these little blocks slide so you can match it up to whatever. You would take the Ronin base plate, put it on here, and then that was how you would do the rod support for the camera. Now, personally, I was a little surprised to see this. I think it's maybe a little misguided, only because I think it's great, and you might use it as a base plate for just when you're in studio mode, for example. And maybe that's the thinking, is that you can remove 2 screws and then go on to airy dovetail for studio mode. But the problem is, look how tall that is. So once you get the camera dovetail and this base plate and then the body of the camera, you're quickly going to run out of length up top, and not to mention you're making everything very top heavy. So I'm not sure how much I'll use this. I'm sure it's going to be a great thing for a lot of people. Like I said, you can use it just as a regular base plate. It's awesome that they included it also. You know, anything extra is great. So moving on, here is another top mount. So this is a really interesting piece. I was surprised to see. I think it's very cool. They call it the top mounting block. So basically, the Ronin Ring, I guess it's time we talk about the Ronin Ring. It's a carbon fiber ring, so it's very lightweight. It's got these sort of hand stoppers, which have a quick release, so you can get rid of them and put our CinemIlled spindles on here, which of course I would do right away. Obviously the Ronin 2 is very heavy, and you're going to put heavy cameras on it, so I think very rarely are you going to be actually holding it bare. You're going to have some sort of support system. Our Steadicam mount is going to be on a Steadicam or on a Ready Rig, Easy Rig, or some sort of a support device. So if you are on a Clausen slingshot or the Ready Rig, we make something called the CinemIlled spindles that would bolt right in place where this is, that have bearings, and then your device can mount to that, and it allows you to adjust the top and bottom heaviness of the ring and control your tilt effort, and it's a great thing. So look into that. We have a Ronin 2 section on our website now, and you'll find the spindles on there. Now back to this block right here. So they made the top cross section of this handlebar tube octagonal, which you can see right there. It's 8-sided, and that makes it so that this can't rotate. So that's a good design. The idea behind this is you take the 4 screws off, you lose the top handle, and it gives you a mounting holes for you to mount this on something. So potentially, for example, you can put our swivel device, which is intended for like a slingshot or the Ready Rig. So we're going to make it so that you can mount our swivel directly onto this plate. Also, maybe you can mount this to a tripod upside down. I don't know. So there are a lot of ways you can use this block. I think it's really cool that they included it. It's another thing about, you know, people are complaining about the price of the Ronin 2, but honestly, the amount of things you get with it essentially makes the gimbal, the real price of just the gimbal, a lot less. So when you compare it to the price of other gimbals, you've got to keep in mind that look at the amount of things you're getting. The other half of the ring is also here. I guess we should talk about that too, because one thing is that, of course, you can take the ring apart, which is basically what you can do with our Pro Ring. The difference is you can't change the size. On our Pro Ring, of course, you can change the size, which is very helpful in a lot of situations. But the nice thing about running half a ring is when you tilt, it doesn't hit your belly. You get, you know, a lot of situations you have a stand. You don't really need the feet to put it on the ground. So that's nice that they made it detachable. And so let's see here. Let me pull this out. It's in there. There we go. So this is the bottom half of the ring. It's very nice. It screws in here. There's these made out of rubber, so nice design. Here are the feet. Pretty cool design. The feet, you press the button, and then they fold out. So that's pretty cool. When you don't need them, you can fold them back in. So that's a neat little thing there. They're just rubber lined in the bottom. There are no mounting holes on the bottom, like our feet. So that's the top level here of the Ronin. Once again, great job. Lots of extra parts, lots of cool stuff. There's a lot of value here. So there is also a little diagram about how to put it back in. So if you're somebody that rents out your gear a lot, let's hope people can refer to that and put things back where they found it. I'm going to move this aside right now. All right, so see if you can get in there. All right, so this is the bottom level, where all the magic happens. So we got the power cable for the charger. This is the charger right here for the battery, or the power supply for the battery charger. Here are the batteries. So these are the batteries I told you about. They are Inspire 2 batteries. You could check the level of the battery there. There are no power outs on it, but they are self-heating. 2 of these batteries on the Ronin 2 at NAB. I had a red weapon with a follow focus, and it powered the Ronin, the red weapon, and the follow focus for 2 hours and 60, 2 hours and like 50. I don't know. I posted it on my feed back when I was at NAB. Needless to say, that's a great battery life. And of course you can hot swap. It'll run on just one battery. You don't need to have both. That's the whole idea. You can hot swap, right? So, and then they charge way faster than you discharge them, being 2 hours. I think within an hour, 2 batteries are already charged again. So honestly, if you have 4 batteries, that's probably all you need. And you don't really need much more than that because they're such great batteries. So let's see what we got here. Got a little pouch. All right, so this is something called the Ronin 2 motion block. So this is an interesting little piece of equipment. So it just feels like there's a weight in there, right? And so this mounts onto the Ronin. This is intended for use on vehicle mounting applications. So with the vehicle mounts, it's a little tricky because you're fighting vibration constantly. You got the vibration from the motor, from the road. So even with something like a black arm or any sort of suspension arm, that of course we're developing our own version also, and vibration isolators that are on the end of those arms, you're still always fighting vibration. A lot of it is a case of tuning. You kind of have to. Maybe the springs you have on your vibration isolator are not really tuned to the payload you're using that day. So maybe last week you didn't see a vibration and this week you are. And also, all these this gimbal is also made of carbon fiber. The Movi Pro is also, and that is it's actually a much better material because carbon fiber has a vibration absorption quality. But everything you pick up can pretty much be tuned into a tuning fork, and there's a secret vibration in there that will harmonize and will vibrate. So this is a very interesting piece of technology. So it's not just a weight. I've been told there's like some brass balls in there or some magic happening with fluid. And so the idea behind this is that it's supposedly tuned to isolate a specific vibration that they had found through testing that it was occurring with certain payloads. So this is not something you'll need all the time, but this is meant as a very high-end tool, which means you're going to be using different cameras with it all the time. You might have it on a helicopter one day. Remember, it has built-in GPS, so now it actually works in a full-size helicopter. And DJI is working on a massive drone to fly it in a drone scenario also. But needless to say, even in a helicopter scenario, you might be fighting some vibration. So anytime where there's a lot of motion involved and you're car mounted, vehicle mounted, anything like that, or and you're seeing some vibrations that you can't get rid of otherwise, the motion block, I think, is what it goes to show me is that they've put a lot of effort into designing this Ronin 2 and in the development process of it. I was a part of the beta testing team, and there was a lot of changes to the Ronin 2 from NAB to what you see now. There's a lot of changes, And that is just one of them that really shows you they really put it through its paces, and they really try to think of everything. And it's really great that it's one more piece that you get for what you're getting with the Ronin 2. So once again, CinemIlled is now a Ronin 2 dealer, so you can buy your Ronin 2 directly from us. And I think I just got an email right before we started. I had another one show up. So I actually, at this moment, I have one in stock. So if you want to go ahead and buy it, I could probably ship it out to you tomorrow, or today's Friday, so Monday. But we will be constantly getting them in stock. And of course, we're here to support you, answer your questions. And we're going to be your source for all sorts of awesome aftermarket products. So let's quickly go into the Ronin remote control, which I love. There's some things about it I don't love, but the most important thing, which is the feel of the joystick and the way it responds, is really fantastic. In the past, they gave you kind of like a drone style two-thumb RC controller, which is really not the best way to control a camera. This style of joystick you'll find on a lot of jibs, and personally it's one I've used before also, and it's one that I like to rest my hand and grab. Everyone has their technique. Some people do this. I use my full wrist, my full palm. So I love the joystick. These modes do engage the three of many modes that are available on the Ronin 2. Free, which means it's kind of like what you would have on a car mount or whatever. Follow mode, which is like majestic or smooth track, and this recenters it. So you can set up different user profiles. So the nice thing about the Ronin 2 is there's so much settings on it that you can set up during prep, and you can save them as profiles. So here you'll be able to quickly go in and out of a profile. So you may want to do that mid-shot. You may want to do that in between takes. Maybe you have a specific profile for a long lens, and then so you did your wide master shot, and then now they want to do a long lens close-up. You can quickly switch to a different profile. There's a start-stop button, the big red button right there, which, as you saw in the cable bag, there are start-stop cables for the ARRI, and of course for the reds it should also work. Now these are the trim buttons. So we got pan, tilt, and roll, and a LED indicator for the battery on the unit. The battery on the unit is USB. You just charge it via USB. It should last you all day. So of course you can increase the pan speed, increase the tilt speed, the roll speed without having to open your app, right? So if you're mid-shot and you did one take and then they end the shot and you're like, oh, I didn't have enough speed, you can just reach over and adjust that. So it's nice that they made a purpose-built controller for a gimbal instead of just grabbing one from a drone and saying, hey, this is so that you can go do your job on set. So what I don't like is that it absolutely reminds me of the first video game controller I ever owned, which was a ColecoVision. So it was a kind of an Atari, which was literally a square just like this with a stick on it, just like this, which is not the most ergonomic, not the best way to do it. So of course, CinemIlled is coming out with an awesome, let's call it a dock for this, that is gonna really be, I would say, must have and essential. And I'm really excited to share that with you soon. We've been working on some of these things in the last couple of months, but we have been sort of waiting to get our hands on a production version. So because I knew DJI was changing things so much, I didn't want to waste my time, and then they changed the design on me. So finally, here we go. Here's the Ronin as it comes. Of course, luckily there are motor locks, so I can not have this flop around like a dead fish on me. There you go. So now it's all locked into place and we can talk about it. So, let me slide it over here. So one change from NAB or some of the prototypes you've seen is there is now a little built-in loop and that's for like a safety cable, like a steel safety cable, like, you know. So if you have this on a cable cam or you're using a quick disconnection device for a transition shot, usually we'll use a safety cable that, you know, it's on a carabiner that you can unclick. That's just in case something fails. I mean, you know, we're doing stunt shots with cars sliding and doing all sorts of crazy stuff, and if something fails, I mean, everything on this Ronin 2 is built very sturdy, but other things can break. Maybe somebody didn't tighten something tight enough, and so them thinking about a safety attachment point, it's a small thing, but it's one of those things I really appreciate. So starting from the top down, so there's the Dovetail quick release, so nice and sturdy. We got another power there button, and then right here we got power in, power out. So there's a power in, sorry. And of course here with the cool little rubber cover, we got our SDI out. So what does this mean? So if you have this mounted to a vehicle or a crane, and you're especially on a vehicle, I would say, every time you turn a corner, you have to pan, you know, to keep it pointed in the right direction. So if you go around a city block, essentially you've panned 360 degrees. So in the past, we would have an SDI cable, and then it would start wrapping itself around. So we would have to tell everyone to stop, unwind the cable, and in worst case, we'd rip the cable out when you didn't know you were wrapped up. So having the cable go through a slip ring and be independent of the rotation of the gimbal is a small thing, but also a really important thing for a gimbal that's being intended also to be used a lot as a sort of remote head, right? So very cool feature. As you can see here, the power block where the batteries would be is right now not there, but this is what it would look like without it. So this is the unlock latch. So every axis has an unlock latch, and every axis has a worm drive for that axis, right? So once you find the position you want your balance to be, then you can lock it. So the worm drive is a small thing. Once again, it's kind of a theme here. It's a small thing, but it makes so much difference, because when you have a lot of weight on here, like an Alexa with a Master Prime, the old method of doing things, which is you loosened it, and you pushed it, oh, I went too far, you pushed it, oh, I went too far, and you would be going back and forth, and it would be really hard, and of course the more weight, the more it would bind, it would be really hard to get your balance. Now you can literally fine-tune the balance in there and really get the balance perfect, which is really important when there's a lot of weight. So the more weight, camera-wise, the more important it becomes. So here's the top crossbar. You know, the camera goes in here. You remember that top dovetail? That goes right there. You tighten it right there. You'll see here that there's not that much distance right here. So if you use that base plate that I was pointing out to earlier, you're going to run out of room. Of course, we're coming out with upper tilt arm extensions that are going to go here, which will allow you to essentially have this go all the way to the top. So expect that in the next couple of weeks. That is something that you're going to be needing fairly right away. You'll see here the axis locks that's on the other side here for the pan. And there is a little bit of play on the pan. So if you're intending to use this on the Steadicam, like the video you might have seen me at NAB and a couple other events demonstrating the 360 Steadicam mode, you're going to need essentially like a Steadicam kit from CinemIlled. So what it's going to include is an external locking block so that there's no play right here, the 360-degree monitor mount, and then the battery block mount for your battery stage. So we're putting that together. That'll be available shortly. Of course, you can do it. You can do it without those things. And the responsiveness of the Ronin is such that even with this unlocked, and with you operating in follow mode on your Steadicam, it follows incredibly fast. I mean, it's completely light years ahead of what you guys experienced with the Ronin 1. And I don't say that lightly. So you could almost not lock the pan, but as a Steadicam operator, an experienced Steadicam operator, there is something very familiar and powerful about me being in complete control of the pan axis and just letting the Ronin do horizon and tilt stabilization. So cool. So that's part of the things that we will put together as a Steadicam package. So okay, the motor locks you see there. One of the great things about, let me unlock the roll here. So the Ronin does roll, Ronin 2 does roll. There's a stop, you see the mechanical stop, but it does roll more than 360 degrees to either direction. You will be able to control that independently, so if you want to do that on purpose as an effect, you'll be able to do that. The arms, if you loosen the two screws right here, the arms expand out. So you essentially have built-in arm extensions, which allow you to accommodate bigger cameras, which is great. Right here, you'll see GPS inside, do not obstruct. So that's proof that there's a GPS unit in there. And that makes this Ronin 2 absolutely solid on a vehicle. I mean, you get no roll drift. None of that stuff that you might have seen if you've been playing with the Ronin 1 on a vehicle. So yeah, one of the other nice things is that normally the camera's like this, right? And if you're gonna go into overslung mode, then the camera's upside down. So the nice thing about the Ronin 2 is with this on, and I showed this in my Alexa video that I posted earlier, you could just grab it and rotate it, and then you don't have to rotate the camera. So it's what's called push mode. So it's, I think, always enabled by default. You can grab and move it wherever you want it and it'll stay there. So that's a really great thing. Underneath here, you'll see the micro adjusters for the tilt axis. You'll see the two other worm drive adjusters for the fore and aft balance and the side to side. And right here, this is the power hub. I believe you can mount this either forward or backwards. Or no, actually, I don't think you can. I think it's just backwards. And then there you get all your ports, RSS, power, blah, blah, blah. This is where all the cables plug in. Here's the 14.4 volt out for the camera power. And SDI is right there. Again, they give you a nice, neat little cover. So out of the camera into here, and then it pops up on top, just like you would expect a proper head to do. And then on the back here, we get a touch screen. When you rotate it upside down, they said it was going to auto flip. I don't know if it's auto flipping yet, but I thought that was a nice option. There is a lock button, which means you can't accidentally change a setting. Pause pauses the motors. The motors go limp. So if you need to change something in the camera, the AC needs to work on it, you can quickly pause the gimbal. And then, of course, it's a touch screen, and then you just rotate and you push in, which is a sort of a very intuitive way of operating menus. And that's pretty much it. But to go into a little bit of what you can do with the Ronin that you kind of can't do with other gimbals, you know, you got the 360 roll mode on the Steadicam. It's going to have a sort of what I'm calling a motion control mode, which I'm super excited to try out. Basically, mount this on a tripod, and you know, I have alpha wheels, which we sell on our website, and you'll be able to do a move, and it record it and play it back. So essentially, motion control. So I would think if I pair this on like a Kessler motion control slider, I essentially have call it a poor man's full-on motion control rig. I mean, we can do a multiplicity shot with multiple Pedros on set by just doing multiple passes and just hitting play, and I would get the same exact camera move. So that's really exciting. That's always something I always thought, why didn't they do? They built it in. You know, they have preset modes. But the one thing I would say after using the Ronin 2 now for the last couple of months since NAB is that I see the biggest difference is that it used to be, you take a setting, any setting, right? 0 to 100. It used to be you would go from 10 to 90 and barely feel a difference. So the settings were, you almost didn't pay too much attention to them. The settings now on every place in the menu are incredibly sensitive. So I make a change now and I feel a difference. I mean, it's amazing. It's what I always sort of was looking for in a gimbal, is like, you know, I go from 10 to 15 and I feel a difference. The settings actually mean something. And if anything, the pan motor is so powerful. I mean, I sort of nicknamed this like a muscle car, you know, as compared going back to other gimbals. It's really kind of a letdown. You get so used to having the power and the hold strength that these big motors give you. You're really spoiled after you use them for a while. But you have so much control and power over that power that it's really a great thing. And so what ends up happening is, like, during the course of a 3-day job I did, I actually kept going down on my settings. And the further down I went, I was amazed at how much more control I had with longer lenses. And so I really think the Ronin 2 is a game changer. I'm really excited to continue to sort of pound on it and use it out in the field and make products for it and put it through its paces. And I'm more than excited to actually be able to now, besides sell you guys accessories, actually sell you the Ronin 2. So of course you can get a Ronin 2 from anywhere, but we do appreciate it if you get it from us. We're always here to help you out. We'll be making tons of videos to show you how to sort of like pro tips, how to get the most out of your Ronin 2. And of course, that the Ronin 2 being this big and heavy in some regards, kind of requires you to use either our Steadicam arm post adapter, the Ready Rig that we sell, the Pro Ring that we sell. And the one thing I would say, stay there, here we got a Pro Ring that's set up for using our Steadicam arm post adapter on one side and sliding in the gimbal on the next. And he's got the feet, everything's nicely set up, but what you'll notice is the Ronin 2 is too tall. So for our Pro Ring users, a small note would be you're going to need the 16-inch side tubes to have the height that you need in order to fit the Ronin 2. But luckily it's an expandable system, modular, so you can accommodate, grow and collapse it and do everything. And really looking forward to playing with it more. Catch us, just stay tuned to our Instagram and our Facebook, because over the next month or two we're going to be constantly coming out with new products for the Ronin 2, so you're going to want to stay tuned. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any questions, just down below, and I'll do my best to respond them. I'm sort of responding to you guys on various different platforms, so I apologize if I don't get back to you right away, but eventually I will. So that's about it, guys. The Ronin 2 is here and shipping, so go ahead and place your orders. Thank you for watching.